Hi everybody, I'm Rebecca and thank you for joining me today for this yoga class. I've been doing a lot of hiking lately as the weather is improving and getting warmer and seeing all those little flowers coming out. But as a result, I've got some really sore legs. So I thought maybe a yoga sequence for hikers would be in order. So today we'll be using our blocks and strap and maybe a blanket to lengthen out those legs. So take just a moment, gather what you need, and I'll see you on the mat.
We're going to start today in child's pose. So if you want a blanket or something to pad your knees, you can get that. So just bring yourself to your mat. You can keep your knees close if you like, or you can open them up wide and let your big toes touch. And then just allow your hips to sink back. If you like, you can always bring the floor to you by putting a block underneath your forehead. This can be an interesting variation at times just to see how it opens up space differently in the body. So whatever you choose, just allow yourself to settle in here. Let your hips become heavy. You've chosen a wide-legged stance. Just let your belly be soft. Sink down between your legs. See if you can release any tension that you might be holding in your neck or your shoulders. And just let your heart space sink down towards the mat. Maybe lift your fingers and press your palms into the mat and let your fingers fall back down. Feeling how the floor holds you here. And drawing your attention to your breath. Just feel your belly's natural rise and fall, or if you connect with the breath better in some other part of the body, maybe the back body in this position, or maybe the nose. Don't need to change anything about the breath here, just notice. Just watch. If it feels good, you can move a little with the breath, rolling the head to one side as you inhale, exhaling back to center, and rolling the head in the other direction, massaging the brow here. And now on your next inhale, just allow your head to roll all the way so that the left ear is resting on the mat. Feel the gentle stretch through the side of the neck here, just working a little range of motion. Rolling back through center. And then we'll roll to the other side. Not being concerned here if the ear doesn't come all the way down to the mat. It is just the intention of turning the head that's important. And coming back to center. I'm going to press the palms into the floor here as we inhale to rise up just slightly, coming onto the elbows just a little bit. And we're going to take the right leg and extend it out long to the side, and then allow yourself to sink back into your child's pose. And if this feels very intense with the hands reached out in front, you can always stack the hands and bring them underneath the forehead. So bringing that stretch into the inside of the leg here. And remembering that this is just an invitation. So if this does not work for you, you can stay in your child's pose. And if you'd like to turn the head again, this time looking out toward the extended leg, you can do that now. Breathing into any places that are stretching and releasing here. And then on your next inhale, allowing yourself again to rise up slightly, drawing that right leg back in, sinking back for just a moment, and enjoying that rebound sensation, that release. And then when you're ready, inhaling up again slightly, extending out this time through the left leg, sinking the hips back. And choosing where you'd like to have your hands placed. And then if you'd like to look over towards that left foot now, turning the head to the side, bringing the right ear close to the mat. And if you notice any thoughts coming to your mind here about whether or not you're doing this right or wrong, just allow those to be let go. Just release those thoughts. What's right is whatever brings sensation and not pain into the body. What's right is just being present with yourself here. And one more breath here. And then once again, we'll rise up slightly, bringing that left leg back underneath the body and sinking the hips back, coming back into your child's pose. Enjoying that little rebound, and then making any natural movements here that feel good, maybe stretching into the shoulders a little or moving side to side. And then from here, we'll inhale, riding that breath up like a wave, bringing the knees back, stacked underneath the hip points. Hands come right underneath the shoulders. And then make a nice straight spine here, just like you're a tea table and someone might come to have tea. Pulling that front body into the back body here, firming the knees and firming the hands down into the mat. And then just again, beginning to move with the breath, inhaling to let the belly drop and the tailbone rotate up towards the ceiling. Exhaling to rotate that tailbone under. And if you're really familiar with this cat-cow motion, see if you can do it just a little bit more slowly and mindfully than usual. See if you can notice each little small, minute movement that it takes to make these shapes. Notice which part of you wants to move first and which part of your body naturally arrives last at the end of the motion. Come through one more round of this mindful cat-cow. And then we'll meet back in the neutral tabletop whenever you're finished there. Now moving the big toes towards each other. We're just going to walk the fingers back so that we're sitting back on the heels here. And if this is challenging for your knees, you have a couple of options. You could bring a couple of blocks in between the toes to sit up on, or you can roll up a towel or a blanket and put it beneath the knees. So choose whatever variation works best for you. And we're just going to stack the spine nice and tall here. And then we'll take a big inhale. And as we're exhaling, we're just going to look over about 45 degrees to one side and exhale, bringing the chin to the chest. And you can bring the hand to the back of the head here. And we're going to gently press the hand into the head and the head into the hand, allowing that opposite shoulder and elbow to be nice and heavy here. You should feel a pretty deep stretch down the back and side of the neck. And then allow that to release. I'm going to bring the head to center here, dropping the chin to the chest, keeping the spine nice and tall and long and the shoulders rolled back so that the back of the neck is what's stretching here. And if you'd like to bring your hands to heart center here, that feels reverent to you, you're welcome to do that, or you can keep them resting gently on your thighs. Maybe this is a good place to set an intention for your practice today. Just take a moment and reflect, see if there's some word or quality that arises in you. And if nothing comes, that's okay too. Just allow that to be as it is. Now, if you have your hands resting on your thighs, go ahead and bring your palms together in front of your chest. As we're inhaling, We'll send the fingertips up, allowing the gaze to follow the fingers if that feels good for the neck here. So hugging the low belly in, reaching up through the fingertips. And then we'll bring the head through the arms so that the arms are close to the ears, and bring the hands back behind the head. So cradling the back of the head here, inhaling here, and then on an exhale, just peeling those elbows back and noticing how the chin naturally rises, the chest spreads open, collarbones move away from each other. Tiny little back bend here, and also opening through the chest. We'll allow that to release, and then inhale, sending those hands back up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hands come down to heart center. Allow those hands to come back down to the thighs now. Take an inhale here, and then turn the head 45 degrees in the opposite direction, exhaling the chin to the chest, bringing the hand to the back of the head if you like, and engaging the hand to the head and the head to the hand. Our lives can be full of tension and rushing and sitting in front of screens, and this is a nice way to release those tight and tense muscles of the neck and the upper back. Allow that to release when you're ready. Inhaling the head back to center. Exhaling to drop the chin to the chest. Bringing the hands to heart center. And on your next inhale, pressing the palms together, sending those fingertips up towards the ceiling. Gaze follows if you like, or you can keep the gaze directly out in front. On your next exhale, bringing the hands back behind the head. Taking a moment to inhale here, and then exhaling, peeling those elbows back, feeling the gaze shift up, chest open wide. And then when you're ready, inhaling, shifting those fingertips back up towards the ceiling. And exhale. Hands come down to heart center. Okay. You have some props here. We'll move those out of the way. I'll move my blanket out of the way. And we're going to use our props here a little. So if you have some blocks with you today, you might want to keep those close by. So we're going to come back into our tabletop position, and you can actually bring those blocks onto either side of your mat if you like. So we'll come here into our nice firm tabletop. And we're going to take the right leg and step it in between the hands. And once you find your way here, if you like, you can roll those left toes under and just walk that left knee back just a little. So you're coming into a low lunge here. And if you'd like to use some blocks to give yourself some extra space here, you can do that. Shifting the gaze forward. I'm going to peel back through that right hip and forward through the left. And see if you can bring some awareness into the back foot, imagining that there is a line from your heel right through your big toe, and that you're trying to keep that line straight, pressing into the top of the big toe mound and allowing the outside of the foot to be released from the floor. So sometimes what happens is we sickle into that foot, we roll the foot under and the outside of the foot comes to the floor. So just bring some awareness there. And then we're going to drag this right hip back, shifting back over the left knee. And if you've got those blocks, you can bring them with you, coming into half split or modified pyramid pose, pulling those toes back towards the face. And you can even experiment with the height of your blocks here, seeing what happens. Just not taking any of it too seriously, just exploring where the sensation is. What level of blocks or no blocks works for you. And then when you're ready, we'll roll back into that front foot and we'll take one hand and then the other over the bent knee. Remembering still to pull back through that front hip, pushing forward through the back, having that awareness in the back foot. And if you like to inhale the arms up overhead, you can do that or keep the hands above the knee. Inhaling here to send the fingertips up towards the ceiling, if you like. Exhale, once again, we'll bring the hands back behind the head as we did before, and then open those elbows back. This challenges your balance. Pull the thighs towards each other, engage that pelvic floor muscle, press into the top of that big toe mound. And allow this to release. Hands come back down to the floor, around the knee. Around the foot. And we'll move that right knee back into our tabletop. You can take any natural movements here that feel good, or if you like an invitation, you can just look over one shoulder, shifting the hips in the same direction. And then maybe look over the other shoulder, shifting the hips in that direction. And inhaling back to center. So now we'll bring that left leg in between the hands. And again, you can roll that right toe under, walking that right knee back if you like. No need to use blocks here if you don't want to, but if you have them handy and you'd like to do that, you can bring those blocks in. And once again, just connecting to that back foot, pressing into the top of that right big toe mound now, imagining that line coming from the big toe mound through the heel. Maybe this time even drawing that line right up the back of your leg and into your hip, feeling that energetically pressing that right hip forward as we peel the left hip back. Opening your chest. And then we'll exhale, moving that left hip back now, pulling those right toes back towards the face. Letting go here of any notions of how flexible you should be in this pose, or whether or not it's okay to use the support of your blocks or your hands, or whether or not you should look like any particular image that you've ever seen of this pose. Just be in your body. One of my favorite yoga quotes is, yoga is not a workout, it's a work in. So work in to your body. Nice big inhale here. And then as we're exhaling, rolling back forward onto that foot, bringing those blocks with you if you like. And then when you're ready, taking one hand and then the other over the bent knee, coming up into your crescent lunge. And keeping those hands here if you like, or inhaling the arms up overhead, sending those fingertips up towards the sky. Deep breath here as we send those fingertips up, and then exhaling, bringing them back behind the head and opening the elbows. And again, remembering if you're struggling with your balance here, pressing into the top of that big toe mound, pulling the thighs in towards each other, engaging that pelvic floor muscle up and in. And then we'll exhale, allowing this to release back onto the blocks or to the floor. We're going to roll that back toe under, taking both hands, planting them into the floor. And then if you need to hop a little to bring that back foot to the front, just go ahead and bring that up into a half forward fold. So we're inhaling up halfway as we do. Sometimes knees might be quite bent here. Really just trying to let the belly get comfortable with the thighs here. So keeping those knees just as bent as you need for them to be to allow that contact to happen, that connection. And then take a nice deep breath. And when you're ready, exhale over the legs. Letting yourself become nice and long here. Crown of the head relaxes down towards the floor. And finding any movement here in this forward fold that works for you. So maybe you walk the fingertips from side to side. Maybe you come into a ragdoll. Maybe you just keep the hands planted on the floor. Couple of deep breaths. And if you'd like to introduce some movement here, you can bring the fingertips to the floor and inhale to let the hips sink down. Exhaling to let the hips extend up towards the ceiling, knees straightening. And see if you can invite yourself a little into the balls of your feet here. Imagining that your weight is distributed evenly through all four corners of the feet. And then when you're ready, allow yourself to bend the knees, bring one hand and then the other over that bent knee, those bent knees, and inhale all the way up to stand, reaching the fingertips up overhead, and exhaling, bringing the hands to heart center. So often when we practice, we do sun salutation or Surya Namaskar. So I thought it might be kind of fun today to do a moon salutation, which we don't do that often. So that's Chandra Namaskar. And if you, this series involves a triangle. So if you like to have props for your triangle, you might put a block towards each end of your mat so that you can grab that when you need it. So we'll just come to the center of the mat here and we'll just start off in Tadasana. Maybe hands at heart center, connecting with the feet, putting that little bend in the knees, and see here if you can consciously engage the muscles that support your kneecap. You might experiment with that just a little by first letting your knees be all jiggly and loose, and then really firming the knees. And if you have any pain here, just be gentle with yourself. So from here, we're going to inhale the arms up overhead. I'm going to interlace the fingers and keep the pointer fingers extended. So coming to a steepled grip or a temple grip here. Nice big inhale. And then as you're exhaling, just allow those fingers to describe a little arc over to the side. So grounding down into that right leg and hip as the fingers come over to the left. Inhaling to come back up. And we'll exhale, grounding into the other side, coming into this side stretch on the other side. Inhaling, hands come back up overhead. We'll exhale, bringing those hands down to heart center, and then you can step or hop if you like, those feet out wide, turning the toes towards the corners of the mat. We'll inhale the arms up halfway, coming into our 5-pointed star pose. And then exhale, sinking the hips down, bending at the elbows, coming into goddess pose. So imagine a nice straight line here that might run from the back of your skull all the way down your spine, into your tailbone, and maybe even into the floor. We'll inhale here to release, arms extending back out to the sides. And then we're going to take the right foot, turning it in at an angle, and take the left foot, turning it towards the top of the mat. So setting up here for our triangle pose. So shifting the hips out to the right, we'll reach those left fingers forward as far as we can, and then just allow those fingertips to fall down to the leg or perhaps a block. Coming into triangle pose. That gaze can come up towards the top thumb or just stay out front for a variation that's a little kinder to the neck. Let's see if you can bring that shoulder and hip and the back of the head into alignment. And from here, we're going to allow this top hand to sweep around. We're going to turn the back toes so that all 10 toes are now facing forward. And you'll notice we'll come here into a pyramid pose. You can continue to use your block here for some support if you like, or just bring the fingertips to the floor. Dragging back on that right hip, feeling that extension down the front of the leg. And remembering that there's no requirement here to have that knee straight. So if bending this front knee will bring this pose more to your body, make those adjustments for yourself. I think we often think in yoga about whether or not some version of a pose is more advanced than another. They're all just variations. And now we are going to bend into that front knee deeply, planting both hands, stepping back a little with that back leg if you need to. And just coming into a lunge here. Taking the gaze forward, maybe coming up on the fingertips. Now we're going to begin to walk the hands around in front of that foot, and you can allow the toes again to begin to angle toward the corner of the mat as you bring the hands around in front and sink down into a half squat here or a skandasana. You need some support here. Bring that block underneath your sacrum, or maybe you bring a couple of blocks underneath your sacrum. Just find what you need here. No need to struggle. If you like to take this a little deeper, you can press the knee into the tricep and the tricep into the knee, bringing the hands to heart center, trying not to lean like I am, bringing that body up straight. And then when you're ready, we'll plant both hands back into the mat. We're going to draw that leg that's out long into the center, and you'll find yourself coming into a squat here. Again, don't be shy about supporting yourself here. If you need to stay up high or use the corner of your coffee table or a chair or a block, bring this pose to you. Take a couple of deep breaths here. And then allowing the hands to come down to the floor. You can roll a little weight into the hands and shift the weight over to the other side as you extend the other leg. And find your way into your half squat or skandasana. On this side, I'm losing my balance today, and that's okay. Happens to me too. And so just find your way here. And you may notice, like I do, you're different on the two sides. So maybe you need some support on one side and you didn't on the other. Or maybe you need lots of support. I see lots of variations out there. That's good. So coming into your half squat. Deep breaths, finding that balance between the effort and the ease. And then when you're ready, we'll release those fingertips back down to the floor. And we're going to begin that turn again. So we're coming into a lunge now on the other side. Find your way into your lunge. Shifting the gaze forward if you can, using your blocks if you like. One more nice slow breath here. And then begin to shift that back foot forward, straightening a little through that front knee, perhaps using your blocks around the front leg, remembering that it's okay to bend into that knee. And then keeping those front toes pointing forward, you're going to angle through the back foot just a little if you haven't already. We're going to open up from here into our triangle. So drawing that left hip back, drawing the lower belly in, planting the bottom hand and opening up into your triangle pose. And if you need to make any adjustments here to your stance, no rules. Just find the pose in your body. If something doesn't feel right, take a moment to release, readjust, come back to the pose. Check in with your alignment. That back of the head and hip and shoulder into that imaginary wall behind you. Or perhaps you have a real wall in your space that you'd like to use. And then from here, we'll engage everything, sending those top fingertips towards the sky, inhaling up, bringing those toes back so that they're facing the corners of the mat. Hands come up halfway back to our 5-pointed star. Inhaling here and exhaling, sinking down, goddess pose. Inhaling to come up, hands come out halfway. You can bring the hands up overhead, coming back into that steeple grip as you heel toe, the feet back to shoulder width apart. Inhaling here to send those pointer fingers up towards the ceiling. Exhaling over to the left, grounding down through the right hip. Little micro bend in the knees. Inhaling, fingers come up overhead. Exhale. Back to the other side. Inhale, fingertips come up overhead. And exhale, hands come to heart center. And that is our nice, slow, mindful Chandra Namaskara for today. So we'll come back up to the top of the mat. And again, if you've got some blocks and you want to bring them with you, you can do that. Make any adjustments you need to make. And then back at the top of our mat, we'll inhale the arms up overhead. And exhale, coming all the way down, forward fold. Inhale up halfway, make that spine nice and long. Exhale over the thighs, back into forward fold. And we're going to take a step back with the left leg, keeping the right leg in front here. And then allowing ourselves to walk the hands to the inside of the right leg. Allow that right foot to walk out to the edge of the mat. Maybe the toes spill off, and we'll bring the left knee down to the floor, coming into our lizard pose here. And if you like to take your lizard down to the floor, on your next exhale, you can come down to your forearms, maybe using a block here to support yourself if you need to, or allowing that knee to open out to the side slightly. And inhaling to come back up, we'll walk that right foot back in between the hands. Take a breath here to pause. And then we're going to let that right foot continue to walk all the way over to the other edge of the mat so that we're laying that front foot down and coming into pigeon. We're going to keep our pigeon high today. Often we come to sleeping pigeon, but today we're going to keep that pigeon high. Remember, if you need any blocks to support yourself, like to have nice straight hips here if possible. We're going to roll those back toes under, lifting that back knee off the mat slightly and then setting it back down in such a way that we feel like we're engaged onto the top of the knee, the bottom of the thigh above the kneecap. And then if you like, you can bring a block to the side or in front, wherever it feels best for you. And then plant that right hand into the block, bending into the left leg and reaching back for the toes. Remembering you can always use a strap here also. So bringing that strap around the foot. I can't even get the strap around my foot. And pulling forward, stretching the top of the thigh here. And also opening the side of the chest. And if this just is not accessible to you, just continue with your usual pigeon or find a different pose that works for you. And then allow that leg to release down to the floor slowly with control. Coming back into our pigeon. And then rolling those back toes under, pressing into the palms. We'll release that leg. Coming back briefly into a downward facing dog. And then from here, we're going to bring that right leg back in between the hands. Allowing the left knee to come to the mat. And here, if you do have blocks, you can bring those alongside, either up on their short side or up on their long side, whichever you like. And we're just going to begin to allow that back knee to walk backwards slightly and the front foot to walk forward. And so we're moving here towards Hanumanasana or splits pose. So just allow yourself to walk the front heel out and the back knee back as much as you can. And if you're quite bent into the knee here, that's okay. Just let that be. Feeling the stretch of this pose. And then pressing into the blocks, we'll draw the front foot back, moving the blocks out of the way. Come back into tabletop and release back to child's pose with your legs close or far apart, whatever works for you. And then inhaling to come up from your child's pose, coming back to a tabletop. We're going to bring that left leg around in front here. And then roll up on the toes on the right side, allowing the hips to sink down, coming into our lunge on this side. And allowing that right knee to find the floor again. We'll take both hands to the inside of the left leg this time. Allowing that left foot to heel toe out to the outer edge of the mat. Maybe those left toes spill off the mat. Coming into lizard. And then bringing your block around in front, if you like. Releasing down to the block. Maybe opening the knee out to the side. Finding your breath. Inhaling to come up. We'll allow that left foot to walk back in between the hands. Pausing for a moment here for a low lunge. And then allowing that left foot to continue to journey over to the other side of the mat. Coming into our pigeon on this side. High pigeon here. Squaring those hips, pulling back on the left hip, forward on the right. And then rolling those back toes under, lifting the knee in the back, coming back into contact with the mat with that flat space above the kneecap. Bringing your block where you need it for support and bending into that back leg, maybe reaching back, maybe using a strap, maybe just bending the knee or staying in pigeon, whatever works for you. As long as you're feeling sensation and not pain, you've got it. Releasing that slowly with control. Back around to your pigeon, planting both hands, shifting that left foot back, downward facing dog. Maybe pedaling out through the feet a little or finding some natural movement. And then coming back to tabletop. We'll bring that left leg back through, coming back into our low lunge, setting up your blocks on either side. Inhaling to come up. And then taking any form of this shape, this splits pose that works for you. Maybe extending through that front leg, maybe keeping the front foot on the floor, maybe keeping the knee bent. Just finding what works for you here. The journey into any pose contains all of the poses along the way. So make this one yours. And now pressing into the hands. Bring the left foot back in between the hands. And we'll step that left foot back. Coming into a child's pose for just a moment, just to regroup, resettle, reintegrate. And then we'll shift the feet out to one side, coming back into a seat in the middle of our mats. And from your comfortable seat here, which feels all the more comfortable after all that stretching we just did, we're just going to allow the legs to come out wide, just as wide as your legs will allow you to come. Maybe pull the flesh out from underneath those sits bones, allow the calves to connect with the floor. And just allow yourself to sit up nice and straight and tall here. If that's difficult, you might try a block or a blanket underneath your sits bones. And just allow yourself to walk forward any amount here. So if even sitting up straight in this pose is difficult for you, just imagine someone pulling a string from your solar plexus here, and just bring that solar plexus forward. We'll inhale to release. We're going to bring the right leg to the inside of the left thigh. Taking the left hand so that the back of the hand is towards the mat. Inhaling the right arm up overhead. And then as we're exhaling, just allowing that left arm to slide along the inside of the left leg, reaching that right arm up and over. Inhaling to release here. I'm going to extend that left leg back out long, bringing the right sole of the foot to the inside. Sorry, I got that backwards. Extend the right leg out long. Left leg comes in. Back of the right hand comes to the mat. Inhaling up through the left arm and exhaling over the right leg. Inhale to allow that to release. Use your hands to draw that left leg in, coming to an easy seat. Allowing yourself to regroup over your sits bones. And then we'll inhale the arms up overhead. Exhaling as we drop one hand behind, the other hand to the knee, coming into a twist here. Inhale to grow tall. Maybe give a little smile over your shoulder. Inhale to allow that to release back to center. Hands come up overhead. Exhale, dropping in the other direction. Inhale, arms come back up overhead. And exhale, hands come down to heart center. You can use your hands to help yourself close the legs. We're going to shift over onto the back. Bringing the knees into the chest. And just give yourself a gentle rock here. Coming into one more twist for the spine. We'll just allow the arms to open wide. And then on your next exhale, just allow both knees to fall over in one direction, any direction. Looking out over the opposite shoulder. Inhale the knees back to the chest. Exhale to let the knees fall over to the other side, looking out over the other shoulder. Inhale the knees back to the chest. We're going to reach through the knees now, grabbing the big toes with our peace fingers, allowing the back of the neck to be nice and long. So a few options here. It might just feel good to allow the shoulders to be heavy, pulling the knees out to the side, pulling back on the toes here. If you would like to open the legs, straightening through the knees, you can come into this shape with the legs spread wide, stretching through the back of the hamstrings and the inner thigh. And if you like to find some movement here, you can. And if you accidentally roll over to one side, that's okay too. Just give yourself a little chuckle. Come back to center. And then when you're ready, you can bring that to stillness. We'll allow the knees to bend and the feet to come back close to each other, releasing the toes and then releasing the legs out long for our Shavasana. Bring the shoulders underneath the back. And just allow yourself to be heavy and be relaxed. Feeling the benefits of this time that you took for yourself and this time that you showed up on your mat today. When you're ready, begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Nice deep inhale, maybe bringing your arms up overhead. And then roll yourself to one side. And press up to a seated position. You can keep your eyes closed or your gaze lowered if you like. The poem that I have to share for the end of class today is one called Wherever You Are, Find a Trail by Ingrid Goff Madoff. The sky is not falling for the cedar tree. The heron's infinite blue world has not changed. The marsh shows no signs of Wall Street volatility. Trees and grasses are golden with the sun. The ocean and sky still join like lovers here, now, and on the horizon too. The swan, content, faces a gentle breeze. The cormorant dives, resurfaces, belly once again filled. Follow that trail. Find the bench or stone that waits for you there. We must learn to walk away from the carnival of the world, to become still and remember what it is that holds us, what in us that is held. May your yoga practice always be there to hold you. Thank you so much for showing up for me and for yourselves today. I appreciate it every single time. And I hope that your yoga follows you off the mat.